So here's a place I come to watch the sunset. It won't be long and I'll have to go to another spot because the sun will be further to the south. But it's a spot where I can get to easily, and you might hear the background noises of humans, the sounds of cars, the occasional train. And hopefully you can hear the birds. Sometimes it's really quiet here, but at this time of day you've got all the traffic that's going up the mountain, people commuting back home. So I've been thinking a lot about how I can motivate myself to keep going at a certain pace so that I can keep healing. And part of that process is to not give myself too much to do, but to make sure I do all the things I need to be doing. And today I wrote my list of things to do, and I've accomplished everything on the list. One thing changed. I didn't have to do it, but it was then substituted by something else that came up that I had to do. So I was able to be flexible and adapt to what was going on. I don't have a filter for my camera, so it doesn't really pick up the sun might be too bright in the video, but that's just something I guess is part of it. So I'm here sitting in nature, reflecting on my day. I still have a few things to do because I've got a shopping list now. I've got to go to a couple of shops for my dad, which I'll do after the sunset. And that's fine. That's what I'm here for. My current situation is I'm basically on call 24 hours a day for whenever my family needs me at this time. And that's number one, my mother. I do feel honoured that I'm able to do this, and things are going to become much more difficult very quickly, so I need as much strength and courage that I can gather to remain strong in this time. It's also difficult because I've gone from being basically bedridden for almost 6 months, and I've lost all my energy and my stamina, and my fitness is so low that walking up this hill caused me to sweat and to lose my breath. But what I do know is that if I do enough exercise regularly enough, I'll be able to regain my strength again, and so that each time I go for a walk I'll be able to walk further. I know that if I have a few days where nothing's possible. That doesn't matter because I know that I'll get back up again. And so spending time in nature like this gives me an opportunity to recharge and to reflect on what I'm doing. I've also put on quite a bit of weight in the last 9 months. So almost 12 months now, sorry. The bulk of the weight occurred during that 6 month period. So I have to exercise more to the point where I'm able to actually get back to the weight that I was, and I'm comfortable in having a few extra kilos. But I do need to get back to where I was, so we got an aeroplane. So we still have a bit of time before the sun gets to that point, just before it goes behind the mountains. But all of a sudden it drops. And then it's like it sits there for a while. Even though it's still moving at the same pace, there's some form of an optical illusion that happens. But there is something very magical about this time of day. As you can hear all the sounds of humans going home to their houses. You can also hear the birds going to their roosting spots. So this is a spot where I come to that has a lot of trees obscuring the sun. So it gives you the opportunity to move your head away from the direct sunlight and observe it without it being too much. Well, it also gives you the opportunity to see the sunlight through the trees. That's something that I appreciate. You see the sunlight reflecting off all the leaves. It's very hard to go to a place and record or sit and not hear the activity of humans. So I will try and make it to another spot that I know that's far enough away. But you'll always have aeroplanes. There's one now that's high up in the sky. And where I am here is like a flight path, so at certain times of day there's almost always an aeroplane in the sky. You can't see from the single camera footage that I've got, but when you look out to the side, you see this amazing filtered light, like as the sun gets obscured by trees, it then casts these silhouettes which then land on the other trees. I hope that the camera lasts long enough and doesn't cut the video recording out so that we get to see the whole sunset. But if it doesn't, then that doesn't matter. I'll just do it again and perfect it. I'll make sure that next time I start the camera at the right time. And these are things that you learn by doing. Everything you do, you get better at. Sometimes it works out perfectly first time, but usually it doesn't. It would be nice if it was just the birds that we could hear right now, but we do hear all these nature sounds mixed with all the sounds of cars and motorbikes and aeroplanes and trains. But it's still such a relaxing place to be right here. I've got my log here that I'm sitting on that is giving me a comfortable place to sit. You might not be able to see from the video, but this land dips down into a valley and then it then rises again to a mountain. And that's the mountain that the sun will disappear behind soon. One of my favourite parts of when the sun sets behind mountains is when it goes behind the ridgeline. It exposes the outlines of all the trees that are there on the ridgeline. So today I gave myself a set of tasks to accomplish, and I've accomplished basically everything on the list. And I added a few to the list to still do later. So even though today is just a simple day, that I will feel like I've accomplished something. And anything that can give me the strength to continue on in a way that is productive moving forward will be so beneficial for me. It's such a difficult thing once you've gotten to that point where you've lost all motivation and everything's difficult at that point. You don't get a chance to jump out of bed. You don't throw your shoes on and then go for a walk. You just wish you could. So I'm grateful that I've actually made it this far, and that I've gone from being so isolated where it's only close family that I've been interacting with, and the few friends I have, and even that has been it hasn't been enough. But I called one of my friends the other day and we had a great chat, and we organised that him and his partner are going to come over to my house and we'll sit by the fire and chat for a few hours and enjoy company together sometime in the next few weeks. So that's something to look forward to. I'm still having a lot of anxiety whilst going out in public, so that's something I have to just deal with and get better at. I think the more I'm learning about how to be more resilient at those times, and also maybe I'm making myself more nervous, and that makes it worse for me. So, because I used to be fearless, you know, and suddenly I'm fearful. And then the more fearful and nervous I become, then the more it affects how I behave, and I become too much of a people pleaser, or I go into that fawning response where I'm not actually acting the way I should. So I think as I get my strength back, and I work on these things, I'll be able to be out in public and not have these panic attacks. At the same time, I don't need to be in public much, because my main concern is for my mother at this point. So I have to be at home for her, and I can reserve my only time I go out in public is for when I go shopping for them. So I do have time to work on these things and build up my strength without forcing myself in this situation. I suppose I'm reflecting on myself at the moment and where I'm at. And I'm saying these things to encourage myself to keep doing what I'm doing and keep learning as much as I can from experts on how to heal and prosper. See, it's amazing how quickly the sun drops. It's almost on the top of the ridgeline now, and it won't be long and it'll be sinking behind the mountains. I can see it's already exposing the trees at the top. you really notice how fast it moves when it's got something in front of it like that. And it is unfortunate we do have all these cars and vehicles and noise in the background. It's just because of where we are right now. So I'll take you to a much more quiet place sometime in the future. As you can see, the sun is now behind the trees. And you can make out the shape of the trees on the top of the ridgeline. This happens every day. It's such an amazing thing. See how quickly it drops away? And then it looks like it sits there for a moment. But that's just an illusion. It's all happening at an even pace. And as soon as it starts to dip away behind the mountain, there's a calm and a cool breeze. And of course the vehicles in the background. So watching this sunset was part of my list of things to do today. And I think I've accomplished that. It's not in the best place. I mean, I love coming to this place here because I can get here easily. It's only a few kilometers from home. And it's not always noisy like it is. Sometimes you can be here and you don't hear many cars at all. So as the day ends, it's not yet over for me. I still have things to do. So I feel like I have purpose today because I was able to do things for myself, for other people, and especially for my mother. I did the important stuff. Now the sun's gone behind the mountains, we're just left with the glow. And there's no clouds in the sky, so it's an even glow. There's the wind. Hopefully there's no more vehicles for a while and we can hear this wind. This is the wind that follows the sun. Whenever the sun sets, it rustles through the trees. The leaves are the thing that's making the sound. I'll take the time to go somewhere where there's less of this noise of humans. It's an unfortunate thing. It's still a calm place even though you have all this noise. I mean, far off in the distance, I can hear a machine going. If anything, this reminds me that you try something, and I knew that there would be a lot of noise in the background here, but that did not stop me because it was the most easy, convenient place for me to come this afternoon. And usually I don't bother too much about that background noise because when it's quiet I can focus on that. Because I'm recording this, I'm conscious that the sounds never really escape the recording. I guess they are part of it. And for me, it's a reminder that I take this first small step, and next time I'll go to another place, further away. So there might not be the car sounds or the motorbikes or the machines. There'll still be a plane or two. But if I'm lucky, then I'll be able to do this and have the sound of the birds being the main thing. So it's always a learning experience. And it's always giving yourself something to start with. Knowing you can always try again. And next time it'll be a bit better.